Johnny that the feds got informant. Therefore, he needs to check all of its people. The authority understands that the murder of a child will not be hushed up, and some black will definitely sit down and let it will be some other black. They are from their gangs, all in the neighborhood tensed up. Ricky, now they avoid communication with the federals. For now he lives with his grandparents. Richard decided to get rid of it just in case. From all the college that he had, Ricky confessed to the father that he was going to return to school. He went into the house to see at her father's fish. Looked at him, Johnny Corey 6, he apologized, took out a gun and shot Ricky in the stomach. Our people put her in a hospital under a stranger in the name of doctors are fighting for his life. Richard blames the feds for everything and deliberately to take revenge on the authority, he waited for Johnny at a garages, but she came with a gangster. Too many people and Richard did not dare to use the weapon. Screams came against neither to find out who shot him. The guy, he doesn't admit it, but they already know who is behind the assassination attempt. In addition, one of the points was covered, and the dealers handed over. Johnny, with the guts of the special forces, burst into the Johnny's house, and he was arrested along with the rest of Ricky's gang. Was discharged from the hospital. He hoped to see at home. Tyrone had already left her sister, but there's still Ricky hanging around. They are thinking about how he should go to school now, with a catheter, but his after shooting there, and they won't let him in. A threat to other guys. 1986, Ricky still hasn't completely. He recovered and ran over the young man, a 10-year-old boy, and said that he made it to the child's sister. Ricky owes act like a man and admit it, his father. Ricky came to the brand to see for her daughter, who turned 1.5 years old, months. He took the baby in his arms, and this is just the moment. She's too beautiful. A grandfather was much happier with the child than he was. Son, he himself did not plan either a lot or a Ricky, but it turned out great, Dad. Yes, drug addict, and I generally pee in bags. What's the difference? The main thing is not to be discouraged in. Difference from Ricky's father is not such an optimist. He hints to his father to start trading foolishness instead of weapons. They are so fast will get rich and change their lives for the better. But Richard is not going to have principles. The man was distracted by poisoning people on the street from the road, and they almost crashed into my son. Ricky is still trying to get into another car to convince her father of Moldova does not return because they live in poverty. Now he also a father. He also needs grandmothers soon. Ricky looked at the map and agreed with him about the supply of goods after Johnny. He had a wide customer base. One night he and his father came to the brothel to take Dura home. Richard took her. She began to wipe her daughter in his arms and she began to fight back, but weakened. Now she surrendered. Girls need to survive withdrawal. Richard locked her in Ricky's room. Really, a lot of money appeared and he became to overwhelm the brand with food, with things. The 16-year-old boy became a new authority and Katie was left without a husband. They look at each other. Richard did everything possible his daughter would get out, and at last Dawn got better. 1987, Dawn became a homebody. Richard gathered loved ones to celebrate the opening of the first video salon. Once upon a time, Ricky plucked up the courage and rolled up to Katie in the bar. That same night, the guy got to her in the apartment and found out that Johnny had been put on a 20 years, which means that you can not only crush for himself his business, but also to take over his. As a woman, Richard finally feels like a happy. Both children live with him under the one roof. They should all appreciate it. The man asks his son not to be greedy and not to take more than they need, otherwise you can easily destroy. But it was already late in the morning. A police squad and a father to his son raided the house and arrested. Jackson calls the kid a complete idiot. If he really, I thought that I would not come across the newspapers, the Daily River, nickname, Cocaine Baron. In his room, in the box found 8 kilograms of the substance. Richard is indignant because it's the feds forced his son to sell goods on that. Just who will believe that the 15-year-old snot worked for the federal relatives, met with agents? The FBI is not going to go to the motel, admit that they forced the kid to huckster on the streets. He practiced himself, he got caught himself. Now he faces a life sentence, but Ricky can be released.
if he helps introduce the federals into the organization of the mole. They want to get close to the mayor, and they are going to do this through his niece, Katie, with whom Ricky became closer. Richard persuaded his son to agree. The man asks for this. The agreement should somehow be fixed on paper, but they do not agree and ask to believe. Katie came to them at Ricky's word and asked so that the mayor's people help escort a large batch of goods. After the operation, 11 police officers were arrested, and also close friends of the mayor on TV, they directly said that the operation was carried out with the help of Ricky Versh. Richard reassures his family, saying that they agreed with the feds and they all hush up. The trial in the case of Ricky has come to an end. The jury returned its verdict. Richard Vershi Jr. was found guilty and negotiated to life imprisonment without the possibility of bail. Grandfather is indignant because the guy is only 17 years old. They took his life. Ricky was taken to his new house. Self-guided walk. An hour in, the rest of the time he will be. Richard was waiting for him to be in the cell. Agent Snyder building management. But it freezes. A woman says that no one promised them anything. The Bureau asked to soften the predictions, but the point did not go to meet them. And with that, Richard found everything. The other agent who explains to them that then it was not possible to arrest the mayor, so I had to catch a smaller fish, which turned out to be his son. He will be young. Screams came Dawn with his daughter to her grandfather. After the trial it became bad. Maybe he has already. Ricky will not get well with tears in his eyes. Asks his sister to show the baby more often. Richard picked up his photo phone and tried to reassure his son. They say he communicated with agents and maybe the river will come out like this for years in 6. But the river's in despair. It is not life and death. Richard was sure that son's life will be better than his, but it was he who prevented him. The man asked forgiveness. He convinces Ricky that family will always support him, but the guy just hung up the phone. Ricky served his term since 1988 until it was as if liberated in 2017. After 29 years, this is the longest prison conclusion in the history of the state of Michigan for nonviolent crime. His father did not live to see this event, only for 3 years. Johnny Curry and his gang members have long been free, for all the corrupt cops managed to get away with it. Ricky all this time kept in touch with his daughter. She is happily married and birthed.
Hello, everyone. Now you will hear a brief retelling of the movie White Boy by Rick Tape, based on real events. 1984. Father and son bargain with a gun dealer to buy assault rifles. Kalashnikov is cheaper. Richard, 26, older, scammed the seller of threatened loss. After all, he was going to sell licenses. Machine gun for a 14-year-old boy. Family of the Vershi lives in Detroit City, has fallen into disrepair, but Richard is not going to. He dreams of leaving here. He dreams of opening a network video salons and make a lot of money. Richard saw a car outside his house. One black huckster will come in handy. A Kalash bought to threaten them. Dawn's daughter's lover is already high. Her father told her to pack up. They would go. There is ice cream in the cafe, but the Dawn is more interesting to hang out with Tyne. She ran after his car in only underpants. Here, grandparents drove up, who also took part in a family quarrel. Ice cream in the basement. Richard made for purchased Kalash mufflers for the following in the morning. Dawn woke up her brother and warned him. What is dumping from here, she moves to Tyrone, because being under one roof with their father. In her opinion, just impossible. Whites live in the suburbs, Detroit, and the city center is inhabited by a poor African Americans. Richard Jr., here, a black sheep. He came to the gangster lair and offered the criminals to buy Kalashnikov and silencers for them, and silencers have seriously increased the price of weapons. Rudel is shocked by the impudent, just like that, to fall to them, risking your white ass. He invited the river to come tonight to their skating rink. He is alone, such a snowball, among Ricky's black gang. Staring at a girl of authority, Johnny Curry, who has to niece to the mayor of Detroit. Her locals work as bodyguards. The cops here are all tied up in the morning in the house. To top-struck FBI agents, they blame Richard. Why do we need production, storage, and sale of weapons? We are talking about the same mufflers. They want to a man turned in his buyers. Richard, for the deal doesn't go. Then Agent Snyder called Ricky and showed him the photos, gangsters, but he only pointed to the bandits who have already been overwhelmed by the leader Johnny Curry. Of course he does not pass. Became together with Ricky's Goopniks. Entertains himself by shooting rats. I sprayed one of them with a pistol. With blood, the feds realized that on the rail you can also press in one evening. Invited him to sit in the car. Inside, Detective Jackson from the Department of the Streets are flooded. Crack dealers. The guy himself saw on his sister's example what this leads to, consumption, but on Rick these conversations are not. Then they showed him a photo, one blind, two headshots from a pistol that his father had previously bought at the arms exhibition. So it is in the hands of a boy. The fate of Richard Sr. Ricky agreed to cooperate. With his, brought to the point of sale of the goods so that it bought there. Having completed the task, the river went home with a huge duck, which I found in the trash for his work. He got $300. Johnny Curry marries the mayor's niece, so he bought brothers' costumes for the wedding, and at the same time, Ricky is the best friend of one of them. The celebration was arranged at the mayor's residence. Ricky seems to be the only white guy among all the guests, but later, he turned attention to the man with whom he was talking. Johnny is Arteric's largest supplier. Ricky wanders around the mansion and dreams someday get rich. After the banquet, young people went for a ride around the city. Ricky saw the brand and invited her to a date. The girl thought that the guy was already killed. Usually when someone stops going to school, so he was either failed or planted. Ricky rolls up Brandy, and since he was the proud owner of Mustache, Brandy could not resist and gave herself directly to him in the parking lot. Detective Jackson entrusts the river with a new task, is to sell dope to a guy on the street. I don't like this idea at all. Here he can keep all the profit for himself, and this is as many as $4. From the teenager could no longer make such an offer. Refusal, he soon became one of the pushers. Shoebox with money was filled to the brim. The year 85 came. Richard Sr. continues to resell. One day he saw his son in the car with the cops, immediately searched the room, son, and found there a box in which lay $10,000. Richard ran over his son, could not make a deal, and he don't care that the guy wanted to protect him. At night, Ricky grabbed a duck, and on his grandfather's wheelbarrow came to the cafe. It was a gift for his sister. You like it? Looks worse than earlier. Brother asks her to return home, and he will leave the Tyrone. He just happens Ricky forgot the keys in the car, and it was stolen. Relatives ran out into the street and shot it with 2 barrels, but the racer managed to escape, and here they are right there arrested. Possession of weapons, driving without rights, and attempted murder is the list of crimes that are sowed by the young man, but the FBI promises to excuse him in court, and that my sister has already been released. Grandpa is angry with Rick because he stayed. Without a car, the boy arrived at the garage to Johnny Gangsters ask what he is told the cops because it's not clear why he was released so quickly. And Johnny didn't. Like that Ricky is huckstering on his points if he has at least 1 gram with him. He should not fit Johnny. None of his loved ones will sit. Like white Austria will not be us at all weatherwise, so be careful. Leon Lucas owes Johnny a bunch of money, but so far it's the criminal said to give him a deferment. He paid it off by inviting him to boxing fight in Las Vegas. So Ricky, I learned what truly luxurious life is, difficult for him to restrain and not stare at Katie, Johnny's wife. I liked it at first sight. When it's time for the fight, Johnny found out that no VIP seats are reserved for them, have not been sold out, and all tickets have already been sold out. Therefore, the gangster had to watch boxing on TV in a bar. After that, Johnny went to a party thrown by Art Derrick, began to mock him there. A gangster who saw him how he was not, let them fight. Johnny didn't do it, endure, grabbed a bottle of champagne, and half dead beaten with it to the bandit. Johnny held a grudge against Leon Lucas, who dared to humiliate him so much, and sent to him 2 of care fighters shot at the house. When there were 2 little sons of Leon alone, one of the boys did not survive. The shooting was carried out from a modified AK-47. Ricky arrived. You don't look good. When you go home to your father does not joke about his son. Burdock wears a hefty gold Star of David around his neck, although the Jew is not. The father asks, Rick, back to school. He soon in it all will get so bogged down that he will no longer be able to get out under the purchased, policeman said.